All right, let's dive into something I think a lot of us dream about. Making our first $1 million.
Yeah,
I mean, who hasn't thought about hitting that financial milestone at some point,
it's a
right?
pretty popular goal for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And so today's deep dive is inspired by an episode from the Margin World podcast called How to Make Your First Million, Proven Strategies.
Okay.
We're going to unpack their key points, and hopefully by the end of this, you'll have some stuff you can actually put into practice.
Sounds good.
Yeah, so they emphasize this idea of a wealth-oriented mindset.
Mm-hmm.
What does that actually mean? Like, how do you actually live that out?
Well, they talk about it being, it's not just about spending money.
Right.
It's about thinking about it as a tool for building freedom and security.
Okay, so
Yeah.
thinking long-term.
Exactly. And it's about like discipline, realizing that small choices that you make consistently can have a big impact later.
Got it. So, I mean, they use the example of like your daily latte, like that $5 latte that you get. Instead of getting that, redirect that money into an investment.
Right.
And so $5 a day doesn't seem like much, but
That's where compound interest comes in.
right.
Like, think about it this way. You invest $100 every month starting at age 25. Let's say you get an average return of 7% per year,
Okay.
which historically, that's not unreasonable for the stock market.
Okay.
By the time you reach 65, you would have over $240,000.
Wow.
So that initial investment of $48,000 has more than quintupled.
So that's pretty incredible, right?
That's the power of compound interest.
But, I mean, let's be real. Most of us can't just rely on like our 9-to-5 jobs to get to that $1 million mark as quickly as we might want.
Right. And that's where Margin World talks about the importance of having multiple streams of income.
Okay.
So, leverage your skills and passions and find other ways to make money.
They give some good examples. So let's say you're a graphic designer. You could offer your services on places like Fiverr, Upwork, right?
Exactly.
If you're a teacher, you could create courses for Udemy, Teachable, things like that.
Yeah.
So really thinking outside of just that one job.
And it's not just about making more money, it's about resilience, too.
That's a good point.
If one income stream dries up, you've got others to fall back on.
Right, yeah.
Plus, it gives you more options for saving and investing, which can help you reach $1 million even faster.
Okay, so speaking of investing, that's where things can get really interesting. And what I like is that Margin World points out that investing isn't just for the wealthy.
Right. It's way more accessible now than it used to be.
And they talk about a bunch of avenues for investing, like the stock market.
Yeah, real estate, peer-to-peer lending.
Each one's got its own risks and rewards, of course.
Of course.
So let's start with the stock market. They use the example of investing $10,000 in the S&P 500. Let's say it has an average annual return of 8%. Over 30 years, that could grow to over $100,000.
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously, past performance doesn't guarantee you what will happen in the future,
Right.
but it shows you what's possible with long-term investing.
Definitely. And you don't even need to start with $10,000.
Yeah.
Even small, consistent investments, remember that compound interest, can really add up over time.
That's true. All right, well, let's talk about real estate for a second, because that's often seen as like a more tangible investment.
Yeah.
Maybe more stable than the stock market, which can go up and down a lot.
Yeah, it feels a little less risky to some people.
And Margin World talks about it as like a proven wealth-building strategy.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see why you're getting rental income and potentially your property is going up in value over time.
Exactly. Imagine putting down a $20,000 down payment on a property, and then you're getting $500 a month in rent. That's $6,000 a year.
That's not bad.
Plus, you still own the property, and hopefully it's going up in value.
Right. But, I mean, real estate's not completely passive, right?
Oh, definitely not.
You've got to think about property management and repairs, and what if you have vacancies?
Right. It's not just collecting rent checks every month. You've got to put in some work, too.
So let's dive into that a little bit more. How can someone figure out if a property is a good investment?
Yeah.
Like beyond just the price tag and how much rent they can get.
Well, you've got to do something called a cash flow analysis.
Okay.
You have to look beyond just the basic numbers.
So what are we talking about?
Things like mortgage payments, property taxes, insurance. Maybe you need to set aside some money for repairs. Don't forget things like landscaping or HOA fees if those apply.
Well, HOA fees, yeah.
You take all those expenses, subtract them from your rental income, and that gives you your net operating income, or NOI.
Okay.
That helps you see if the property will actually be profitable.
So it's about understanding all the costs involved, not just the initial price.
Right. Just like any business, you have to know your expenses to figure out your profit margin.
Okay.
And then there's the capitalization rate or cap rate.
Right.
That's the ratio of your NOI to the property value.
Okay.
It helps you compare different properties and see which one might give you a better return.
Even if they're different sizes or prices.
Exactly.
This is getting a bit technical, but I think it's good for folks to realize that real estate investing, it can be great,
Yeah.
but it needs a lot of careful planning.
It's not as simple as just buying something and hoping for the best.
Okay, so we've got investing, and then Margin World also brings up entrepreneurship
Yeah.
as a way to build wealth,
And they make it clear that you don't have to invent the next big thing.
which is good to hear, right? I love how they talk about businesses that solve everyday problems. Like during the pandemic, you remember everyone needed masks and hand sanitizer.
Oh, yeah.
And some people saw that as an opportunity. They made it into a business.
And they did really well.
Yeah.
It just proves that there are opportunities everywhere if you look for them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then there's also like cleaning services or food delivery or even selling stuff on Etsy. So it's all about finding that thing that you can offer and figuring out how to grow it over time.
Finding your niche, offering value, and figuring out how to scale up.
Okay, so we've talked about investing, starting a business, but let's be real. Just managing your everyday money can be tough.
Oh, for sure.
And Margin World spends a lot of time talking about budgeting.
Yeah.
And they basically say, to make $1 million, it's not just about what you earn, it's about what you hold on to.
You can have all the income streams in the world, but if you're spending it all, you're not going to get anywhere.
Exactly. So they recommend tracking your expenses, maybe using an app like Mint or Wineack.
Those can be really helpful. They categorize all your spending, show you where your money's going, which can be a real eye-opener for some people.
Yeah.
And they help you create and stick to a budget, so you're in control of your money instead of it controlling you.
And they also talk about cutting unnecessary spending.
Yeah.
It's like, remember that latte we talked about?
Right. It all adds up.
And then automating your savings and just sticking to your budget.
Which can be tough, but it's so important. Think about it. Saving $1,000 a month, investing it with a 7% return, after 20 years, you'd have over $500,000.
It's crazy how much those little choices can add up over time. But of course, sometimes debt can get in the way of building wealth.
Absolutely.
And Margin World talks about the difference between good debt and bad debt. It's that high-interest credit card debt that can really set you back.
Definitely.
And they say you got to tackle that high-interest debt first. They talk about the debt snowball and the debt avalanche. Can you explain those a little?
Sure. With the debt snowball, you focus on paying off your smallest debts first. Doesn't matter what the interest rate is.
Okay.
It's about getting those small wins and building momentum. You pay off the smallest one, then take that payment amount and add it to the payment for the next smallest debt.
I can see how that would be motivating.
Yeah, keeps you going.
Yeah.
Now, the debt avalanche method is all about tackling the debts with the highest interest rates first.
So it's less about quick wins and more about saving money on interest in the long run.
Exactly.
So snowballs for motivation, avalanches for saving on interest. I guess it depends on what works for you.
Exactly. But the main thing is to be proactive about your debt. Once you've got that high interest debt under control,
Yeah.
then you can start thinking about good debt. Things like a mortgage or maybe a business loan.
Because those can help you build assets or generate income.
Right, as long as you're responsible and have a plan to pay it back.
So it's about using debt strategically, not letting it control you. All right, well, let's switch gears a little and talk about networking.
Okay.
It's not just about numbers and spreadsheets, right?
No, not at all.
Margin World talks about how important it is to surround yourself with good people.
Absolutely. Having a network of supportive people can give you advice, mentorship, even partnerships.
They recommend things like attending industry events, joining online forums, using LinkedIn. So like if you're into real estate, networking could help you find a mentor or even people to invest with.
It's like building your own personal board of advisors.
I like that.
Yeah.
And sometimes to achieve your goals, you have to take some risks.
Yeah.
And Margin World makes a point of saying there's a difference between calculated risks and just reckless ones.
Right.
They use the example of launching a new product.
Okay.
So the smart way to do it would be starting small,
Yeah.
testing it out, getting feedback, and then scaling up once you know it's going to work.
But just throwing all your savings into a stock because someone gave you a hot tip.
That's reckless.
That's a recipe for disaster.
So it's about doing your homework and understanding the risks. And of course, Margin World reminds us that building wealth takes time.
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
There are going to be ups and downs.
Definitely.
Most millionaires, they didn't get there overnight.
Right.
They had to be consistent, make smart choices, and ride out the tough times.
And it takes patience and perseverance.
I mentioned Warren Buffett,
Yeah.
one of the most successful investors ever. He talks about starting early and being consistent.
It's the long game that matters, not chasing quick wins.
Exactly. And then finally, Margin World talks about something that I think is really important but often overlooked when we talk about money, which is giving back.
Yeah.
It's not just about having money. It's about using it to make a difference.
They highlight philanthropy as a key part of success for a lot of really wealthy people,
Like Bill Gates and Warren Buffett's giving pledge.
where people pledge to give away a big chunk of their wealth to charity.
But giving back doesn't have to be about millions of dollars.
Right.
It could be volunteering, mentoring someone, or donating to a cause you care about.
Even small acts of generosity can make a difference.
It's about realizing that true success isn't just about your bank account. It's about making a positive impact on the world around you.
I love that.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's amazing how it all ties together, right? From mindset to investments to philanthropy.
it's like a holistic approach to building wealth. And I like that Margin World doesn't give you like a rigid set of rules.
Yeah.
It's more about understanding the principles behind it all and then adapting those to your own situation.
Exactly. There's no one-size-fits-all formula.
Right.
It's about figuring out what works for you, like your risk tolerance, what skills you have, and what your goals are. But I think we need to talk about something that often gets overlooked in these conversations about money.
Okay.
And that's the emotional side of things, the psychology of wealth building.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Margin World does talk about patience and perseverance,
Right.
which in our world of instant gratification, that can be so hard.
It's easy to get caught up in those get-rich-quick schemes.
Yeah.
But building real wealth takes time.
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Exactly. And just like running a marathon,
Yeah.
there are going to be times when you doubt yourself, you hit setbacks, you might even feel burnt out.
It's about pushing through those tough times.
It really is. Building that mental strength to stay on track even when things get rough.
Like when the stock market dips or your business hits a snag.
Exactly. It's like working out at the gym. You got to build those financial muscles.
Okay, I like that analogy.
The more you practice discipline, the more you make those smart choices consistently, the easier it gets. To resist impulse buys, to stick to your budget, to deal with those financial ups and downs.
So it's all about building good habits.
It really is. And we can't forget about constantly learning. The world of money is always changing.
Yeah, that's true.
So you got to stay informed and adapt your strategies.
And Margin World definitely encourages people to keep learning about finances.
Yeah.
Whether it's reading books, listening to podcasts, taking online courses, talking to a financial advisor, it's all about finding what works for you and committing to it.
It's about taking control of your financial future, not just blindly following what someone else says.
Yeah.
It's about understanding things so you can make smart choices that fit your own goals.
Right. And sometimes that means getting advice from people who are already where you want to be.
Absolutely. Having mentors or experienced investors in your network,
Yeah.
they can provide so much insight, support, and help keep you accountable.
It's like having a financial GPS to guide you.
Exactly. Those who've already walked the path can share what they've learned and help you avoid costly mistakes.
That's so valuable. But even with the best guidance, you still got to be the one to take action.
You got to put in the work.
It's about being both a student and a doer.
You can read all the books in the world, but if you don't actually do anything...
It's not going to make a difference.
Exactly. That's where the magic happens. Combining knowledge with action creates momentum.
And momentum is what keeps you moving forward.
Exactly. It's like that snowball effect. Small steps taken consistently lead to big results. But beyond just the money, I think it's important to realize that the journey to $1 million, or any financial goal really, it can change you as a person.
I think that's a really beautiful way to put it. It's about growth, resilience, discovering things about yourself.
You become more financially savvy, more disciplined, more empowered.
You realize that true wealth isn't just about money in the bank.
Right.
It's about having the freedom to follow your passions, the security to handle life's curveballs.
And having the resources to make a positive impact.
That's a definition of wealth we can all get behind, no matter where we are financially right now.
I agree.
But, it's natural to wonder about luck.
Yeah.
Sometimes it seems like some people just get lucky, while others struggle no matter how hard they try.
The luck versus hard work debate. It's a classic. But I tend to think that luck favors the prepared.
So it's about being ready to seize those opportunities when they pop up.
Exactly. The more knowledge you have, the more skills you develop, the bigger your network is.
Yeah.
The better you'll be at spotting those lucky breaks and taking advantage of them.
It's like that saying, the harder I work, the luckier I get.
Yeah.
But even putting luck aside, one of the most important things I got from Margin World is that building wealth is a journey. It's not the destination.
Couldn't agree more. It's about embracing the whole process.
The ups, the downs, the lessons you learn along the way.
And finding joy in the journey itself.
Celebrating the small wins.
Mm.
Looking back and seeing how far you've come.
And appreciating who you're becoming in the process, even if you don't hit that $1 million mark right away.
Every step toward financial freedom is a win.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up our deep dive into these wealth-building strategies, I'm curious what really resonated with you. What are you thinking about after all this?
That's a good question. There's so much to unpack here. But I think for me, it all comes back to mindset.
Yeah.
Like you said earlier, without that wealth-oriented mindset, without believing you can actually achieve your goals, all the other stuff might not work as well.
It's the foundation.
Exactly. And for me, the big takeaway is that building wealth isn't just about piling up money. It's about creating a life that has freedom and security and purpose. Yeah. It's about being able to do the things you love, take care of your family, and make a difference in the world. And that's something we can all relate to no matter how much money we have right now.
It's a good reminder that financial independence, it's not some impossible dream.
Right.
It's something you can achieve if you have the right mindset, the right strategies.
You're willing to put in the effort.
Exactly. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I'm curious, what are you most excited to explore further after hearing all this? What really stood out to you?
It's a tough one. There's so much good stuff here. But I think for me, it comes down to taking action.
Oh, yeah, that's huge.
Like we can talk about compound interest and investing and all that. But if you don't actually do anything, nothing changes.
You got to put it into practice.
Yeah.
You can have a whole toolbox full of tools, but if you never use them to build anything, what's the point? So for our listener, what's that first step you're ready to take?
Yeah, what are you going to do?
Is it making a budget, finally paying off that credit card debt, maybe trying out a side hustle?
Whatever it is, remember, you don't have to do it alone.
Find a community of people who support you.
Get advice from mentors.
Celebrate the small wins.
And remember, that first million, it's not just about the money itself.
It's a symbol of all the work you put in.
The resilience you built.
The belief in yourself.
It's proof that you can achieve big things.
It shows the journey you've been on.
All the lessons you've learned.
And the positive impact you're making. So, to our listener, we hope this deep dive has given you the knowledge and inspiration to start building your own wealth.
Remember, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
With the right mindset,
The right strategies.
and the right support,
You can reach those goals.
create a life of freedom.
And purpose.
So keep learning.
Keep growing. And keep taking action. That first million is out there waiting for you.